You are listening to the Mohua Show, where it's all about celebrating the junoon among changemakers and their journey.
I've heard remarks like, "Oh, you're too pretty to be a lawyer. What are you doing in this profession?"
Let's talk about AI, misuse and deepfake surge. So what are the most dangerous gaps, that you see in India's current laws?
I believe that these deep fakes, spread faster than the law can respond. Now, since we have already secured relief for Mr. Kumar Sanu, a landmark order by the Delhi High Court, I've already filed for Shilpa Shetty and we are filing. We are in the process of filing for Ravina Tandon. People behind them often remain untraceable. So our legal framework reacts after damage is done. What is urgently needed is, of course, swift takedown mechanism, which is happening now. Honorable Delhi High Court, Honorable Bombay High Court are passing judgments, ensuring protection of personality rights, imposing clearer responsibility also for online platforms. And I believe there should be strong criminal consequences also for deepfakes, which is a must. I think Indrani is a perfect example. I mean, before the court has declared her guilty because of the public opinion, moral judgment, and this, media trial, I think somewhere she was already guilty in the minds of public. Like in Rupali's case, I have already secured an interim relief wherein the High Court has recognized that all the statements given by the stepdaughter, she files a rape case. So such cases, I don't call them rape cases. According to me, they're misuse of rape laws. Of course, there's a rampant misuse of dowry cases also now.
In a country where lawyers are often judged by who they defend rather than how they defend, today's guest has stood at the center of public outrage, media trials, and moral discomfort. Advocate Sana Raees Khan is one of India's most visible criminal lawyers, admired, applauded, and appreciated, and questioned. This conversation is not about heroes or villains, it's about power, ethics, gender, and the price of standing inside the courtroom where the world has already decided the verdict. It's about justice when it's uncomfortable and courage when it's costly. So, welcome, Sana, in today's episode. It's an absolute honor to have you here with me today. Yeah. So when you defend someone in public as who's already condemned, and you're defending, are you defending the constitution or actively challenging society's idea of morality? Because there's so much of trial by the media and by the people. Tell me, Sana, about that.
I believe that I'm defending the constitution because morality is subjective and it fluctuates with public sentiment. But constitutional principles are constant. So the right to legal representation, presumption of innocence until a person is proved guilty by the court of law, and fair trial. These are not rewards for the popular. They are like safeguards against public judgment. So I believe I am defending the constitution.
Amazing. So, should lawyers, you think, ever refuse a case on moral grounds, or does that itself weaken the justice system? Because everybody needs, a fair sentence. Oh, what are your thoughts on
Yes,
this?
because courts exist primarily because morality cannot replace evidence. So, if lawyers start acting as moral gatekeepers, I think constitutional guarantees will become hollow. So, I believe that such kind of refusal would definitely weaken the justice system.
And has public outrage really effectively become a political judicial system in India? Do you think that, becomes like a deterrent sometimes?
Yes, I believe because unfortunately social media now precedes investigation, prosecution, and sometimes even judgment. So I think that, yeah, this parallel system does not even have any remedy or rules also for vilification. So I believe that is, I think, that needs to be really taken care of urgently. Mm, that's something I truly believe in.
So, do women lawyers really face harsher moral judgment than men when they defend controversial clients? I mean, do you feel that, the judgment is more on you as the gender, or it's the same?
I believe that no, they don't face harsher judgment, in my opinion. I believe that what women lawyers often face is not judgment for defending a controversial clients, but heightened visibility in a profession where fewer women operate in high stakes criminal litigation. So while societal perceptions exist outside the legal system, within the profession, a woman's credibility is always earned the same way, just as a man's, like through knowledge of law, through courage, through credibility, through conviction, courage to stand truly by constitutional principles. I feel.
Now, as a woman in criminal litigation, have you ever faced moments, where people try to dissuade, or simply because this isn't a field for women, which we often hear as women?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, have you faced that?
Yes, several times, many times. In fact, I've heard remarks like, "Oh, you're too pretty to be a lawyer. What are you doing in this profession?
Oh,
Why do you
God.
have to deal with gangsters? Why do you have to act?" In fact, there was one lawyer, like a colleague, and he also happens to be a producer. So he literally in the first year of my profession, like of my career when I started out. He was like, I have a movie to offer. So why don't you just try that out? Like, why do you want to really be in, and are you really seriously intending to stay here, or is just a frivolous people really took that, my looks, perhaps, that could have gone against me in this profession initially. People were like take, thinking that this could be like a frivolous approach for me. It's just like a, like a fancy thinky, oh, lawyer, and like with a gown, I'm just trying to do this, perhaps like like whims and fancy kind of a thing. It's not.
Of course, I know what you're
Took me
saying.
some time to actually make people realize it's a conscious decision which I have taken. I'm pretty serious about it. And with my work and action, only people actually understood that that's how it is. And every such remark honestly reinforces that why women must occupy these spaces, because criminal law is about courage, conviction, clarity, and how you present the case. And it has nothing to do with gender, honestly. So I believe now this stereotype mindset and regressive mindset definitely is changing. Fortunately, also with me now, with my victorious judgments, and probably I've been really contribute I have also contributed significantly in breaking this and damaging the stereotypes. So I'm really I feel fortunate about that I'm able to bring some change in the society, probably in the mindset or however I can.
Amazing, Sana. Of course you do. So, Sana, just be honest about how much of legal practice is about justice and how much is it about strategy, persuasion, and power?
I think justice is always the objective, the goal, and strategy is like the vehicle. So law cannot be practiced in vacuum. It has to always exist in the within the power structures. So uh, I believe that, like how you're talking about strategy, probably you meant ethical strategy is what I believe. Ethical strategy is not manipulation; it's the true art of advocacy. So that is absolutely essential, according to me.
So let's talk about AI, misuse and deepfake surge. So we've constantly been seeing this. It's pretty frightening. What are the most dangerous gaps, that you see in India's current laws? Because all of this is so new right now.
Yes, absolutely. Now, since we have already secured relief for Mr. Kumar Sanu by securing a great landmark order by the Delhi High Court, I've already filed for Shilpa Shetty, and we are filing. We are in the process of filing for Ravina Tandon. I believe that these deep fakes, spread faster than the law can respond, and people behind them often remain untraceable. So our legal framework reacts after damage is done. So while technology moves in real time, so what is urgently needed is, of course, swift takedown mechanism, which is happening now. Like if you see, it's a settled law now. Supreme Honorable Delhi High Court, Honorable Bombay High Court are passing judgments, securing, ensuring protection of personality rights, and clear imposing clearer responsibility also for online platforms. And I believe there should be strong criminal consequences also for deep fakes, which is a must. I believe that's absolutely needed now, because if you see especially for actresses, the deep fakes, the
Yeah, they can be
pictures are
scary.
being morphed, exactly, being morphed, and they're being projected as some porn actresses. This is like, it's high time that even criminal consequences are essential now.
Yes. So,
Hmm.
do you think these personality rights cases really is about celebrities, or is it really warnings, for ordinary citizens also? Because anybody can really be a target of this sort of morphing of images. It's really frightening. Given the work that I also do, that I use social media a lot, and I
Yeah,
do write a lot, on patriarchy, and I often get worried about it.
yeah. So no, it's not necessarily only for celebrities, but celebrities are simply early victims because they are visible. The public figures, they are visible. So the legal principles developed in these cases will definitely protect ordinary citizens also tomorrow. So today is just a famous face, but tomorrow it is a private individual's life also destroyed by deepfake. That also definitely can be taken note of by the high courts. It's not necessarily uh, only for celebrities, but what I feel is that by securing protection for them, for owing to the visibility, these judgments are now setting precedents for even ordinary individuals tomorrow, because deepfakes are deepfakes. It can
Yeah.
tarnish an ordinary person's life also. But of course, for celebrities, for politicians, for public figures, even now, recently a content creator, even a podcaster, he also approached the Honorable Delhi High Court for protection of his personality rights, and he secured also a positive order. So now everybody is not necessarily celebrity per se actors, but people from different walks of life are now coming forth and filing these petitions, and because they recognize the importance of their personality traits, how their attributes, likeness, voice, these all these attributes are being monetized for commercial gains without even their knowledge, and in a absolutely disparaging way. So now I think this. I think more about recognition and more about awareness. It's about awareness. So now people are more aware about their rights, which is the first positive step towards execution. Enforcement could get a little difficult, but now, with these orders being passed, I think that's, according to me, is the beginning, and it's a very, which is a very positive beginning.
So let's talk a little bit about the high-profile criminal cases till now. Let's talk about the Indrani Mukherjee case that you took under such intense scrutiny. So how did you prepare to defend someone that society had already judged as guilty?
Yeah, so I think Indrani is a perfect example where the court had, I mean, before the court has declared her guilty because of the public opinion, moral judgment, and this, media trial, which is, of course, which has severely damaged her case in the beginning to a large extent. I will not deny. Also, because of that, I think somewhere she was already guilty in the minds of public. So my strategy is always very simple. I consciously separate law from noise. I focus on the record, the charge sheet, the evidence, and not public opinion. A lawyer's responsibility is to ensure that emotions and public judgment do not replace proof and evidence. So court works and functions on the basis of evidence. While public sentiments can, of course, affect any case to that extent, but ultimately it's the record that matters. When she approached me also, when for her case, it was not an instant yes for me. It was not like, oh, okay, your case is high profile and I'm saying yes. I told her first to send across her papers. I went through her records, her proceedings, all the deposition of witnesses, that had transpired so far. 67 witnesses were already examined. So I went through everything. I read each and every page. I read the voluminous charge sheet, everything. And that's when I felt like, principally morally, when it clicked, that I felt internally, okay, no, she's not done it. It was only then that I instantly said yes, and I took up the case. And though, she is, of course, prior to me coming on board, she had already spent about 6 years in the jail, from running from pillar to post and not getting any relief. When I took up the case, my strategy is, of course, very solid. Of course, taking into consideration her previous years of incarceration, the fact that she's a lady, her even age related ailments, and also the fact that, the how deposition of so many witnesses were going against her throughout. I actually used it in her favor, that because all of these witnesses may have been examined, but still so many number of witnesses are yet to be examined. What about that? And how many years she should actually face this pre-trial custody that will amount to almost as good as pre-trial conviction, which is against the principle of criminal jurisprudence. A person cannot just be indefinitely incarcerated. And again, I put forth on record all these inconsistencies in the forensic evidence, in the medical evidence, in the deposition of the witnesses, everything, which somehow ultimately led to her coming out on bail. And now, she can prepare strongly for her trial also. I also recently secured an order from the Supreme Court where I got a time-bound expeditious order for her case. Now, where Supreme Court has expedited the trial, and within a year, her trial has to be completed, because if it just goes on indefinitely, she will actually have the sword hanging on her head. She'll actually, always be judged by the public that she's still a murderer. So it's high time the trial has to be expedited and has to be, disposed of expeditiously, so that the truth comes out in the open and her innocence can probably be proved in the, in the open. She's out there as an innocent woman.
Let's talk about the Sushant Singh Rajput case. This case itself became India's, most emotionally charged saga.
Hmm.
So, how difficult is it to really argue facts, when national sentiment is really already inflamed? And this was a case that was really, we were all so torn. We did not know because everybody loved him as an actor.
Correct,
So,
correct.
how was that?
Yeah, in fact, I'm already representing co-accused in that case. So I'm aware of the nitty-gritties of the case already. Of course, it becomes challenging because public emotion tends to demand conclusion. They want answers, while the law insists on proof, and it takes time. You really don't get it just at the drop of a hat like that in law. But when sentiment runs high, facts are no longer examined patiently. So I think, and somehow sometimes filtered through beliefs. So a lawyer's task is then not to compete with emotion, but to show the conversation, the actual conversation, not what is running in the media, which relates to evidence, procedure, and even constitutional discipline. So I think that media trial, of course, can damage the case severely. But I believe that somehow, I think we function on facts, evidence, records. That's what actually matters in the court.
So also Rupa Ganguly, it's a family dispute involving public figures, like her case, where legal safeguards exist and matters are still sub judice, So what's happening there,
Because
Sana?
the law always draws a very clear boundary between the right to speech and the right to dignity. Because, like in Rupali's case, I have already secured an interim relief from the Honorable High Court, wherein the High Court has recognized that all the statements of which were given by the stepdaughter were are prima facie defamatory, and by way of interim relief, already we have a restraining order against the stepdaughter now from speaking from making any public statements against her during the pendency of the suit, and we've already obtained a John Doe order, which now not only is enforceable against the stepdaughter, but also against the media who was acting very irresponsibly without any verification. They were just publishing anything and everything without which I believe that it's their duty to always verify facts before sensationalizing a matter like this, especially when it's such a sensitive matter. I think reputation is a facet of Article 21 of the Constitution, and courts have always repeatedly held that damage to reputation, particularly through media platforms, through digital platforms, cannot be compensated, in any terms. So I think I believe that family and matrimonial disputes should always be dealt with heightened sensitivity. And the law also recognizes the right to privacy, mental peace also, and discourages public airing of allegations. So now, in this specifically, since you asked me about Rupali's case, we've already secured an interim relief during the pendency of the suit, restraining her. Which now somehow has worked out for her, because now there are no statements. You'll not see any statements, any defamatory statements coming out in the media, even by the journalist, or even by the respondent, the main defendant, who is a party in the case. So I think any violation of such restraint can invite even contempt proceedings against the court and further coercive action also.
What about Aryan Khan? The case became really a national spectacle, of course, given his father's reputation and, all of that. So what did it expose, about investigative agencies and media pressure?
I think what should have remained a matter of evidence and law, of course, became a spectacle driven by politics, driven by even optics also, and public outrage. I think it showed us that how narratives can be manufactured, faster than facts. And when a case even collapses after months of damage, it reveals that the process itself can become a punishment, especially for high-profile individuals. So, yeah, I believe that even accountability cannot be selective. If an individual expected to answer for every allegation, even state must be accountable for reckless arrest, unlawful detention, or cases built through without any legal foundation. So I think reputation, again, just like how I mentioned just now, reputation is a part of the right to life under Article 21. So when investigative power is exercised casually, it erodes public faith. So I think stronger internal scrutiny and personal accountability, judicial oversight are essential to prevent law from becoming a tool of intimidation or vendetta.
But do you really believe that there's a lot of misuse of laws that a lot of people are talking about protecting women? There's this growing debate, and we have a lot of men who are really standing up against it and saying that, oh, about alimony, especially, there's been such a fight, and so how do you address this without weakening genuine victim voices? Because we know that the crime against women is way higher than what happens, with a man in our country. So I just need your opinion on that.
See, I personally, I have secured quashing of the entire FIR in certain cases where, that prima facie, I felt that this is a false rape case, relationship gone sour, boyfriend, girlfriend, after a while, relationship, probably went sour and things did not work out. And then she registered a rape case against him. And sometimes, this is also the intention is also extortion. I'll be very vocal about it. It's monetary demands are made, and then when they're not fulfilled, she files a rape case. So such cases, I don't call them rape cases. According to me, they're misuse of rape laws. There are of course there's a rampant misuse of dowry cases also now. When the entire family, including the distant relatives, are roped in. Who've never even shared household with the lady and who are in different cities, they are being roped in, and cases are filed against them when they're not even aware of what probably happened in the household, just out of personal vendetta, because she wants to drag the entire family for her own, due to vindication. So these, of course, there is a misuse, gross misuse, but of course there are genuine cases also. So this is difficult, but a necessary conversation. Acknowledging misuse does not delegitimize genuine victims, but it actually strengthens the credibility of the law. So I think gender justice cannot be built on denial. The solution lies in better investigation by the investigating agencies when such cases are filed. Like especially like 498A, it mandates them to conduct proper inquiry, give them a notice, and not just arrest them arbitrarily without conducting proper inquiry and investigation. Then, of course, judicial application and consequences for malicious complaints must also be there. So that genuine cases should not be diluted. Genuine victims' case should not.
Yeah.
Yeah, their credibility should not be
There's
eroded.
been such crazy ones of a woman being thrown inside a room with snakes, with a venomous snake that was, that was held at, that was a case in Kanpur
Huh.
on, yeah, dowry case again. And they're crazy, some of the stuff that you hear,
True
yeah.
feminism, I think, demands fairness. Law must
Mm.
protect women without becoming instruments of personal vendetta, I believe.
Absolutely. Yeah, 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 yeah. So, talking about gender, the Supreme Court upheld Muslim women's right to maintenance after divorce. What does this judgment really mean for gender justice?
Of course, it's a welcoming judgment, and I've already supported this in the past also through my interviews. That I always believe that this judgment reaffirmed our fundamental principle that personal laws cannot override constitutional morality. I think it also recognized the fact that Muslim women are also right-bearing citizens, and I think. And I think maintenance is also a dignity, which like how it forms a facet of your right to life. So I think that's a positive beginning now, and execution of the same I think is a welcoming step.
So, Sana, beyond landmark judgments, how far has the legal system really progressed on the LGBTQ, plus space inequality?
I think we have progressed symbolically, but I think not structurally enough, because decriminalization was a milestone. But I think true equality requires legislative protection also, like in marriage, in inheritance, in adoption, healthcare. So courts have opened the door, but parliament will also work through it, I believe.
What advice, really, Sana, would you give to young women and men who want to enter law, stand for justice, and still survive the system with integrity? Because that's something that remains to be seen.
I believe that I think they have to be patient with success. For young, even individuals, especially, do not mistake toughness. And for women also, young women, do not mistake toughness for arrogance or softness uh, for weakness. You don't need to apologize for being ambitious or for competence. So even the courtroom respects clarity, credibility, and gender fades when your work speaks itself first. So always protect your conscience. You'll see injustice, hypocrisy and power games, but do not let cynicism turn you into what you once opposed. If it, at the end of the day, I think you can say that you argued fearlessly and without any regret. You'll not just survive the profession, I think you'll dignify it. And also, just take it easy also at the same time. I mean, you have the work life balance is also extremely crucial and essential. Like for example, in my case, I always balance it out. If I work hard, but I always take out time for travel, for my passion, for my hobbies. So it's important that you maintain that. And I think just be resilient. I think resilience is also the key, like, and not getting bothered by anything as an it's not really easy to say that, but just from my own personal experience, I can say I have received death threats, while I was defending a model in Haryana encounter case. But while after even getting her out, she was killed. Despite of the death threats, I remained undeterred and I got her out. And once she was out, she was killed. She was murdered. So, and that of course took a toll on me, personal toll. And I will not see, I may be a little stronger relatively in terms of the fact that I have seen too much in my life, and my life is very different. Of course, I'm very practical because I'm in this profession. But despite of which, it took me some time to actually process everything. But that only made me stronger. And I realized that my purpose just that strengthened my purpose to actually defend my defend the rights of my client even more vigorously, regardless of whatever happens. So it's like strength and bravery is also very important, to be courageous, because this is not a profession where a light not for the light-hearted ones. Honestly, I'm telling you, you're brave, you're courageous, you have to be bold, and you have to have that attitude, that no matter what, just bring it on. I'll do it. That kind of attitude is extremely essential.
Thank you, Sana, for taking out the time and being on our podcast today. And for our listeners, justice isn't always loud. Sometimes it's lonely, nuanced, and deeply misunderstood. If this conversation made you question how we judge, believe, and condemn, share this episode, start a discussion, and rethink what justice truly demands out of us. Follow, subscribe, and join the conversation because the rule of law only survives when we engage with it. Thank you, Sana Raees Khan, for being on today's podcast. Thank you.
Thank you.